Rob, we're getting into late April. We're in spring at this point, but in Minnesota, it's still cold.
Yep.
It's still rainy. We had about 3 days of 80s, and I've already seen, and then it got cold again. I've already seen people going out and putting some pre-emerge down. When we get snow, when we get a lot of rain and other, precipitations, what's the concern with putting that pre-emerge down too early?
So a couple things. One, I think one of the things that I always like to highlight, because this happens all over the country, I see it all the time, is we get, especially this year wasn't as a big of a deal here in Colorado because we had a fairly cold spring. So people kind of waited. But years in the past where we all of a sudden it's February, early March, and it's 75 degrees out for a week and the sun's out, guys are going like, I need to get out and make some applications. And I think some of the cautions that I want to point out are the fact that, one, when you look at the labels, pre-emergents talk about a rate per time. We're going to put out this much material and it's going to last this long. So if we put out a certain amount of material, we need to remember that the clock's ticking. And so the other thing that many parts of the country run into, especially areas that are a little more arid and it's too early to turn on the water. So we're in kind of a catch-22 where the guys want to get out working. It's super nice out, but we're probably gonna have another cold spell, just like what you guys experienced. So they go out, make their applications, the clock starts ticking, and say they made an application that the pre-emergent rate gave them 2.5 months. A lot of these pre-emergent coated fertilizers especially tend to be at a little lower rate than if we would go out and spray the liquid, even though they still are the most common way to put product out, fertilizer pre-emergent. So we start to look at that, and the clock's ticking. So we get into where we're in full season. We warmed up, we got the water on, we're getting good natural moisture and rain, and we are experiencing failure in our pre-emergence. And you go, well, yeah, because the clock started ticking because we went too early. In your situation, then we also all that heavy rain and that, those are somewhat detrimental things with your pre-emergence, depending on what kind you're using, and how well they are able to take heavy moisture and heavy rainfall. So again, we start to lose some of our application because of all these harsh weather situations and the fact that we went a little early. So we're going to probably run out. Now, if the customer understands that and they schedule to make a supplemental application, a lot of guys I have go out with a supplemental half rate or low rate application to stretch that pre-emergent application out. Now, the other thing we got to look at is that the nitrogen. Many of these granular pre-emergent fertilizers, you look at the analysis and you look at how the bag's made up, and they're 25 to 35%, not slow release nitrogen of some form. And you look at that and go, well, that's not very much. Again, once we make that application on that nitrogen, the clock is ticking, and the other large portion of the bag, which is mainly quick release nitrogen, it's starting to go through all of those ways that the environment, whether it's leaching, loss, whether it's volatilization, if it didn't get watered in, whatever way the nitrogen can potentially be lost, it starts to go through that process because only a small percentage of the bag is slow release. So all that happens. So we run out of nitrogen. So we made our application too early. But at the end of the day, in May, June, when our customer or ourselves, if it's our home lawns, really want our yard to be looking perfect and the weed pressure starting to go up, we got the right soil temperatures to start to have weed issues. We're out of our first application of nitrogen. We're running out of our pre-emergent control. So what do we need to do? Essentially, we either need to wait a little bit, or we need to make a supplemental application or move our next application a little bit closer. So it kind of shifts the whole year schedule of when we're making our applications and how we're making our applications.
It's easier said than done, obviously.
Oh, totally.
But it's such a tricky thing.
You know how it is. Even in your home lawn, you're like, it's so nice out. It's Saturday. I'm getting the spreader out. And then it snows on you a couple of days. It happens all over in the cool season northern market. So, and then heavy rainfall. I mean, even in that rainfall effect, that's all variable depending on what product you're using. Some products are affected more than most about heavy amounts of water. But think about this: we just had a situation. I wonder how they're dealing with it. Didn't Florida get like a huge amount of rain, like a month?
I remember seeing a
Yeah.
picture.
So how did that affect everything that had already been put down? I know they're putting down products all the time, and I'm sure their applicators and the customers are working on changing their schedule subtly, but timing affects the schedule, timing affects the performance, and going too early in the northern climate and the cool season climate especially is going to affect your performance.
It's such a small window.
It is a
I
small
understand
window.
people got to
And
get
that's
out,
the thing
especially
is,
those bigger
no,
companies. But
it's like commercial maintenance companies that we work with, lawn care applicators, etc. Those guys, they got to get a schedule going. Everything's off a schedule. So they put the schedule together, and we got nice weather. We need to start doing things. One of the things you can do is you can choose. We have some of our pre-emergents, prodiamine that are affected differently in the soil by cold soil temperatures, cooler soil temperatures. So the breakdown of that product over time, the degradation, and ultimately the length of the product changes based on that. So if I was going to go out early, I would probably go out with a prodiamine. If I could go out early with a prodiamine and also do it in a liquid application to push my nitrogen back, my fertilizer back, that would probably be the best scenario. Some of these products, and this is something that is very effective, but you don't see very much, is to put that type of a pre-emergent down in the fall. There's fall applications. Look at the prodiamine labels. Look at the barricade label from Syngenta. They talk about fall applications. They talk about fall applications with gallery on the Corteva label. So you could do a fall application. That would give you a little bit of time in the spring to wait. But hard for commercial lawn care. What if I make a bunch of really effective fall applications, pre and post combo, and then I lose the account? The guy that took my business essentially is going to be the one that's going to benefit from my superior herbicide program. That's another thing with fall programs. Great time to spray post-emergent weeds. So you can go out in the fall with a prodiamine and strike 3 combination and get excellent weed control the next spring.